So yeah, brother, I want to talk about the story of creation through sacred geometry. Do you know the story of creation? On the first day there was light, and on the second day and all that nonsense. You've heard it, right? No, I shouldn't say nonsense. I didn't mean it like that, but you know what I mean, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So basically, sacred geometry reverse engineers our method of scientific exploration, and it starts with the logical beginning of everything, which is nothing. So before there was something, there was nothing. There was nothing. The universe was without form, void, and you have darkness upon the face of the deep, right? That's what it says in the Bible. So the first thing to come into existence was a point. It's the first thing to come into existence. A point. Before anything can exist, it had to start with a point. A point occupies no space. It has no dimensions. It's so small, it can't be measured, yet it encompasses everything in it. That's cold, right? You can say this point is spirit. And what is the first thing that spirit does? So the original point is spirit. It becomes conscious. It becomes aware. 360 degrees of awareness in the vast emptiness of the void. Now, ancient Egyptians believed that this innate aspect of consciousness is what sparked the process of creation. So what's the next thing spirit does? The only thing it can do, it moves. So if you look at the first 3 lines of Genesis in the Bible, it says, "In the beginning, God created heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters." So that's what we just said. It had to move.
Amen.
And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So obviously there's various interpretations of the Bible, but the important thing to note is that there was movement. Okay, before there was light, there was movement. So from the vantage point of physics, motion is impossible in a void. You can't go anywhere or fall or rotate. There's just infinite emptiness in all directions. So in order to move, you need something in relation to move to. Okay, so before there was light, there was movement. Once spirit created a point in space, it was able to move to the edge of its awareness and expand consciousness, creating a second circle to form the Vesica Pisces. And I've shown you that before with the 2 interlocking circles, and in between has the fish. That's the Vesica Pisces. And Vesica Pisces actually translates to the bladder of the fish, fish's bladder. So it's a football-shaped opening in the middle. It's a geometric image through which light was created, right? Because movement and then light. And it's also the geometric shape through which our eyes receive light, right? It's also this shape right here that we have, Vesica Pisces. And the Christian fish. They're not aware of that, a lot of the Christians, most of them. So anyways, then spirit would continue to expand its awareness following the Genesis pattern by moving to each intersection of the circumferences and expanding. The second movement creates the third circle, which forms the Holy Trinity. With each movement, more information unfolds. By the fourth motion, we have moved halfway around the first circle. 180 degrees from the first motion. On the 4th day of Genesis, exactly half of creation was completed for 7 days. So 3.5, 4, rounded up. After 6 movements, 6 days, a geometric pattern, miracle takes place. We have a complete pattern, the seed of life. You know the seed of life. This complete pattern is called the seed of life because it contains the recipe of life in all its potential. The second rotation of circles forms a 3-dimensional shape. The ancients who were concerned with life and death called this cluster of spheres the egg of life. Your entire existence is dependent on the egg of life. Everything about you, from your height to your eye color, was created through the egg of life form. Embryonic cells have the egg of life structure. It's phenomenal, right? Spirit would continue this pattern with a 3rd rotation. 19 circles produce the flower of life, a shape that's found in ancient cultures around the world. From China to Ireland to Egypt to India, they all had some notion of the flower of life. And the typical question is, why is this shape so special? Because the information hidden in the flower of life is so important. It's so sacred. Ancient ancestors kept it secret because at that time it was appropriate. However, now we use the information or fall further into darkness. Right? So it's important to know all these things. Now, when the flower of life is extended out and all the circles are completed, the fruit of life is revealed. This is the secret. Out of the flower comes the fruit. The fruit of life is an entirely feminine shape. In sacred geometry, all curved lines are feminine and straight lines are masculine. So once we add masculine energy or straight lines, that's when we get Metatron's cube. That's like my favorite geometric shape. It's phenomenal. You guys look that up, Metatron's cube. So this is Metatron's cube. And let's see here. Give me 1 second. Let me go through my notes. And it contains the fabric of reality. Because out of this shape, we get the platonic solids. Now, platonic solids have faces that are all the same length, angles that are all the same degree, and if put into a sphere, all points will touch the edge of the sphere. These shapes were studied in ancient times by the Egyptians, who passed the knowledge to the Greeks, where Pythagoras would study them, and later Plato, which is where we get the name Platonic. So they're named after Plato, the platonic solids. There are 5 platonic solids. The cube, which represents the earth, the tetrahedron, which represents fire, the octahedron, which represents air, the icosahedron, which represents water, and the pentagonal dodecahedron, which represents ether. And each platonic solid corresponds to a different element, and every element of the periodic table has a geometric relation to one of the platonic solids. So there's all types of alchemy going on there. You saw how like the whole thing is like a double entendre, from the shapes to what they represent, and now they're talking about on the periodic table of the elements, which is, it's fascinating. This is how it all correlates. From the motion of atoms to molecules to viruses to snowflakes to the shape of our sound and even to the orbits of the planets in our solar system, everything stems from this basic geometric information system, and it all starts with spirit.
Kush and Chemtrails, the world's most dangerous podcast.